By the end of this video, you will know everything you need to know about Bitcoin. In fact, things you will learn if you watch until the end are known by less than 2% of world population. The vast majority of people in the world don't own Bitcoin yet, but even among those who do, many don't truly understand exactly what it is. And that's a big deal. As Bitcoin continues to grow and more people begin to accumulate it, those who take the time to understand it will have an edge over the rest of humanity. The difference between those who grasp Bitcoin's fundamentals and those who don't will only become more significant as time goes on. So if you want to find your financial freedom through crypto, make sure to subscribe because content we make on Bitcoin Academy is more than everything you need to make it out there. And it is 100% free. Okay, in this video, we're going to go back to basics. We're going to break it all down in simple terms. What Bitcoin is, how it works, and why it's different from any form of money that came before it. By the time we're done, all those terms that might seem confusing at first, like blockchain, mining, proof of work, private keys, will all make sense by the end of this video. And if these terms sound confusing and you can't keep up with this video, no worries. There is a free course called Learn Crypto in 24 Minutes on our channel, which will give you all basic knowledge about crypto, and it is completely beginner-friendly. Link is down in description. Before we move on, let's divide this video in 4 key topics. 1. Traditional money problems. 2. How Bitcoin works. 3. Nodes miners. 4. Private and public keys. Topic number 1. Traditional money problems. Perhaps the simplest way to think about Bitcoin is to begin with real-life example. Let's say I owe you $100. How am I going to pay you? The simplest way for me to do that would be to give you a $100 bill in cash. That seems straightforward enough, right? You get your money immediately, and the debt is settled. You can then do whatever you need to with it. Buy something, save it, give it to someone else. There are a few key things that make this transaction effective. It's instant. The moment I hand over the cash, the transaction is complete. No waiting. No delays. No third party is involved. It's just you and me. There's no bank, no service provider, no one approving or processing the transaction. It's private. Nobody else needs to know this transaction took place. It's just between us. This type of transaction is called peer-to-peer. It's direct and simple, but there's one big problem. We have to be in the same place for it to work. If we're not physically in the same location, paying you in cash becomes a challenge. Sure, I could put the cash in the mail and send it to you, but then we'd have to trust the postal service to deliver it. That introduces delays, additional costs, and the risk that the money could get lost or stolen along the way. If you live in a different country, the problem becomes even bigger. We might not see each other for months or years. If you need the money quickly, that's no good. So, how do I get you your $100 if we're in different places? In today's world, most people send money electronically, and there are plenty of ways to do it. I could send you a bank transfer, but if we're in different countries, that could take days to process. International transfers often come with hefty fees and complicated processes, especially if different currencies are involved. I could use a money transfer service like Western Union or MoneyGram, but those services charge high fees for the convenience. I could pay you using a credit or debit card, assuming you have the ability to accept card payments. But again, there are fees, and not everyone has access to card processing. We could use PayPal or a similar service, but that introduces yet another middleman into the process. PayPal holds your funds, can delay payments, and even freeze your account for various reasons. No matter which method I choose, there's always an intermediary, a third party that processes the transaction. That means we have to trust that third party to process the payment correctly. There are usually delays before the money actually arrives. We often have to pay fees for the service. Wouldn't it be great if there was a way to send digital money directly peer-to-peer without needing a bank, payment service, or middleman? And that brings us to Bitcoin, because that's exactly what Bitcoin was designed to do. What is Bitcoin? Bitcoin is a form of digital cash that allows people to send and receive money peer-to-peer, just like handing someone a $100 bill, except you don't need to be in the same place. With Bitcoin, you can send money directly to someone anywhere in the world. No banks, no payment processors, no middlemen. The transaction is fast. It's borderless. You can send Bitcoin to someone on the other side of the world just as easily as sending it to your neighbor. It's decentralized, meaning no single company, government, or entity controls it. Bitcoin works on a global network of computers that verify and record transactions. Instead of needing a bank or financial institution to approve payments, Bitcoin transactions are validated by this decentralized network. Why is Bitcoin important? Bitcoin is more than just another way to send money. It's a revolutionary change in the way money itself works. Right now, Banks and financial institutions control most of the world's money. They decide who can send money, how much they can send, and when they can send it. They charge fees, enforce restrictions, and can even block transactions if they choose to. Bitcoin removes the need for permission. With Bitcoin, anyone with an internet connection can send and receive money freely without needing approval from any bank, government, or payment provider. Bitcoin is also limited in supply, unlike traditional money, which can be printed endlessly by governments. This makes it a scarce asset, similar to gold. Let's recap topic number 1 for a second. At its core, Bitcoin is a solution to the problems of traditional money. It allows people to transfer value instantly, securely, and without needing to trust a third party. It's like digital cash that works across borders and is resistant to control by banks or governments. And while it may seem complex at first, the basic idea is simple. Bitcoin is money that only you control. Now that we've covered the basics of what Bitcoin is, let's dive deeper into how it actually works. But before we do that, make sure to follow me on Twitter. Link is down in description, and here is my username. Why Twitter? Well, Twitter is #1 social media for crypto-related information. You absolutely want to have it, because in crypto, everything is about information. Those who have early informations are the ones that make money. Okay, moving on to topic number 2, which is how Bitcoin actually works. Bitcoin isn't just some digital asset floating around on the internet. It's a powerful online network that enables value to be transferred across the internet between individuals without the need for an intermediary. Bitcoin, with a capital B, refers to the network itself, the decentralized system that enables transactions to occur. On the other hand, Bitcoin, with a lowercase b, refers to the currency that exists on the Bitcoin network. The ticker for Bitcoin is BTC, and we will use it from now on when we want to refer to the currency itself to avoid any confusion. BTC ticker symbol is used in exchanges and financial markets when people trade Bitcoin. You will be able to see it if you ever visit any cryptocurrency exchange. Now, who created Bitcoin? Bitcoin's origins are mysterious, to say the least. It was created by an unknown individual or group who went by the name Satoshi Nakamoto. To this day, nobody knows who Satoshi really is, or even if he is actually a single person or a group of developers. On October 31st, 2008, Satoshi published a groundbreaking document known as the Bitcoin White Paper. The paper was titled Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system, and its very first line set the stage for the revolution. A purely peer-to-peer version of electronic cash would allow online payments to be sent directly from one party to another without going through a financial institution. That sentence alone encapsulates Bitcoin's core idea, removing financial institutions from the equation and allowing people to transact freely over the internet. Satoshi had an incredibly difficult challenge ahead. How do you create a system that allows people to transact digitally over the internet without needing a trusted third party to keep track of everything? In the traditional financial system, banks act as record keepers. They ensure that when you send money, you actually have that money. They also prevent double spending, meaning you can't use the same funds twice. But if you remove the banks, who keeps track of transactions? How do you make sure people only spend what they actually have? And, more importantly, how do you eliminate the need for trust in the first place? Let's be honest, people, when given the opportunity, often act out of self-interest. If there's a loophole that lets them spend digital money multiple times or create money out of thin air, some will try to exploit it. So without banks to verify balances, how do you make sure Bitcoin remains secure and honest? To understand why Bitcoin's solution is revolutionary, let's once again look at how traditional money works. Physical cash. Paper money is difficult to forge, and if you try, you'll likely face serious punishment. That's how governments enforce the integrity of physical currency. Electronic transactions. When you use a debit or credit card, the bank updates its central records to ensure you don't spend more than you have. Central banks. The financial system depends on central banks to issue and regulate money. However, they can also print more at any time, which devalues the currency over time. And that's exactly what has been happening in recent years. Satoshi figured out a brilliant way to create a decentralized financial system without the need for banks. Instead of relying on a single entity to keep track of transactions, Bitcoin is engineered so that every computer running the Bitcoin software keeps a complete record of all transactions. These computers are known as nodes. A node is simply a computer that is downloaded and is running the Bitcoin software. Think of it like this. Each node acts as an independent bookkeeper, recording every transaction that happens on the network. So rather than one central database controlled by a bank, Bitcoin uses a distributed ledger, a shared record of transactions that is constantly updated and verified across thousands of nodes around the world. This means no single point of failure. If one node goes offline, the network continues without issue. No central authority, no bank, government, or institution controls the system. Security through decentralization. Every node checks and verifies transactions, ensuring no one can cheat the system. With traditional banking systems, all financial records are stored in centralized databases. This creates huge risks. If a hacker gains access to a bank's database, they could alter or delete all records. Fraud and corruption. A centralized authority has full control over records, meaning transactions could be manipulated or censored. Dependence on trust. You have to trust that your bank is keeping honest records and won't block or restrict access to your own money. Bitcoin removes these risks by distributing its ledger across thousands of independent nodes. How Bitcoin transactions are secured. Every transaction on the Bitcoin network is checked and verified by nodes. Transactions are validated to ensure no one is double spending BTC. Every few minutes, new transactions are bundled together into a block. These blocks are linked together to form an unchangeable record of transactions. This brings us to one of Bitcoin's most important security features, the blockchain and hashing. Each new block of transactions is linked to the previous one using a cryptographic technique called hashing. Without getting too technical, this means that every block is mathematically connected to the one before it. Why is this important? Because if someone tried to alter a past transaction, say, to give themselves more BTC than they actually have, this change would break the cryptographic link between blocks. And here's the key. The network would immediately detect and reject the fraudulent change. This is what makes the Bitcoin blockchain an immutable record of transactions. Unlike centralized banking systems, where records can be altered, censored, or even erased, Bitcoin's blockchain is permanent and tamper-proof. Satoshi Nakamoto didn't just create a new currency, he created an entirely new way for people to store and transfer value without relying on banks, governments, or financial institutions. Bitcoin network system ensures that no one can alter the transaction history. No central authority can freeze or block payments. Transactions are verified by the network, not by a single company or institution. It's a fundamentally new model for money, one that removes the need for trust and replaces it with mathematical security. And that's why Bitcoin isn't just another digital currency, it's a revolution. Moving on to topic 3, which is about nodes and miners. By now, you might be wondering, why are nodes making sure that transactions are processed correctly? Why are they verifying balances? What's in it for them? As we've already seen, Bitcoin operates on a decentralized network of nodes/computers running the Bitcoin software that store a full copy of the blockchain and help validate transactions. Running a Bitcoin node is actually a pretty straightforward process. You don't need a supercomputer or specialized hardware. In fact, a basic computer with decent storage space is enough to do the job. However, there's no financial reward for running a node. Unlike miners, which we'll get to shortly, regular nodes don't receive any BTC for their efforts. Instead, their reward is more ideological. They help keep the Bitcoin network secure. They contribute to its decentralization. They ensure that transactions remain trustless and transparent. The more nodes there are, the more independent bookkeepers exist across the network, making Bitcoin even harder to attack or manipulate. But while nodes play an essential role in maintaining the system, there's another type of participant in the Bitcoin network, one that has a financial incentive to keep it running. These are the miners. You've probably heard the term Bitcoin mining, but it might not be immediately clear what mining has to do with an asset that exists purely in digital form. After all, mining usually involves digging things up from the earth: gold, silver, coal. But Bitcoin isn't a physical commodity, so what exactly is being mined? The answer lies in Bitcoin's monetary policy, the way new BTC is introduced into the system. Unlike traditional currencies, which can be printed indefinitely by central banks, Bitcoin has a hard limit on its total supply. Only 21 million BTC will ever exist. That's it. No more. Ever. But these 21 million BTC weren't all created at once. Instead, they are gradually released over time. And that's where mining comes in. New BTC enters circulation through a process known as the block reward. Every time a new block of transactions is added to the blockchain, a fixed number of BTC is created and awarded to the miner who successfully mines that block. This reward serves two purposes. One, it acts as an incentive for miners to contribute their computing power to secure the network. Two, it introduces new BTC into circulation in a controlled, predictable manner. But here's the key. The block reward isn't constant. Bitcoin's code was designed to reduce the reward over time, a process known as the halving. Approximately every 4 years, the number of BTC miners received for successfully mining a block is cut in half. This slows down the rate at which new BTC enters circulation, reducing inflation over time and ensuring Bitcoin remains scarce. This is fundamentally different from traditional money, where governments can print more and more currency, devaluing what already exists. Miners don't just secure the network for the sake of earning rewards, they also play a crucial role in keeping Bitcoin honest. This entire system of mining, competition, and block rewards is part of what's called proof of work. But what exactly does that mean? Bitcoin miners are all competing for the right to add the next block to the blockchain and claim the BTC block reward. But how do they win? It all comes down to solving a cryptographic puzzle, a mathematical challenge that requires miners to guess a random number. Now, this isn't just any number. It's a massive number with so many digits that there's no way to just figure it out through logical deduction. Instead, miners must rapidly guess trillions of possibilities until one of them gets lucky and finds the correct answer. The first miner to guess the number correctly gets to add the next block of transactions to the blockchain, claim the newly minted BTC block reward, collect transaction fees from all the transactions included in that block. Once a block is mined, the whole process starts all over again. But here's the catch. Submitting trillions of guesses takes an enormous amount of computing power, and that computing power requires a lot of electricity. Does Bitcoin mining harm the environment? This is where a lot of criticism comes in. Because Bitcoin mining consumes large amounts of energy, many people argue that it's bad for the environment. And yes, if mining were powered entirely by fossil fuels, that would be a valid concern. But here's the good news. A growing percentage of Bitcoin mining now uses renewable energy sources, such as solar power, wind energy, hydroelectricity. In fact, Bitcoin mining is increasingly being powered by energy that would otherwise go to waste, making it far more sustainable than most people think. But that's a topic for another discussion. For now, just know that while mining does require significant energy, the environmental impact depends entirely on the energy source being used, and many miners are shifting toward greener solutions. With all this talk about nodes and miners, you might be wondering, do I have to be a node or a miner to use Bitcoin? Not at all. Unlike the traditional financial system, where you need permission to open a bank account or send money, Bitcoin is open to anyone with an internet connection. No bank account required, no government approval needed, no restrictions on who you can send money to. If you have BTC, you can send it to anyone, anywhere in the world, instantly, with no middleman standing in your way. And that's one of Bitcoin's most powerful features. So to summarize, nodes help maintain the Bitcoin network, but aren't financially rewarded. Miners compete to solve cryptographic puzzles in exchange for new BTC and transaction fees. Bitcoin's total supply is fixed at 21 million, making it scarce and resistant to inflation. Mining is energy intensive, but it's increasingly powered by renewable energy. Anyone, anywhere can use Bitcoin. No banks, no middlemen, no barriers. And that's why Bitcoin isn't just a currency, it's a revolution in financial freedom. Welcome to the future of money. Topic 4, private and public keys. Bitcoin's security and functionality are deeply rooted in a concept known as public key encryption, which is one of the key reasons why Bitcoin operates as the most secure payment network on Earth. This system involves 3 critical components that work together seamlessly, allowing anyone to use the network to transfer BTC safely and effectively. Let's break it down. The very first component is the private key, which is a randomly generated string of letters and numbers created by the Bitcoin software for a new user. This private key, as the name suggests, must be kept secret at all costs. Without it, you lose access to your Bitcoin, and if someone else gets their hands on it, they can access your Bitcoin as well. Think of it as your online banking password. If someone else has it, they control your account. It's critical to understand that the private key is the key to unlocking your Bitcoin, and without it, you cannot access your funds. Later, I'll explain how private keys are stored for safekeeping. Public key. The next component in this system is the public key. Using the private key, Bitcoin software runs a complex mathematical process that generates a public key. These keys are essentially long strings of random letters and numbers. Importantly, the process that creates the public key from the private key is irreversible. This means you can generate a public key from a private key, but you can't reverse engineer a private key from a public key. This adds an extra layer of security, ensuring that your private key remains private and safe. Bitcoin address. Now, while the public key is an important part of the process, it isn't yet ready to be shared with others. Before you can share your public key with someone, another layer of mathematical processes is applied to create what's known as your Bitcoin address. This Bitcoin address is another string of numbers and letters, and it can also be represented as a QR code for easy scanning. The address itself is what others need in order to send you Bitcoin. It's similar to a bank account number in the traditional financial world. You can share this address with others, and they can use it to send Bitcoin to you over the network. In Bitcoin's early days, the process of generating private keys, public keys, and addresses was a bit more complicated. Users had to rely on various online services to generate these keys, or they could download the Bitcoin Core wallet to do it themselves. It's important to understand another essential concept: Bitcoin wallets. A Bitcoin wallet is software that serves two primary functions: storing your private keys and managing your public keys, or Bitcoin address. This allows you to interact with the Bitcoin network, enabling you to send and receive Bitcoin. While modern wallets may have more features today, these two functions are the core of a wallet's purpose. The easiest and most popular way to obtain Bitcoin today is to buy it through an exchange like Coinbase or Binance. When you sign up for an exchange, it automatically creates a wallet for you. You can then deposit traditional currencies, such as US dollars, euros, or British pounds, into the exchange, use them to purchase Bitcoin, and that Bitcoin is then stored in your exchange wallet. However, here's a very important thing to understand. Because the exchange holds your wallet, it also holds the private keys for that wallet. This means the exchange controls access to your Bitcoin. Now, while legitimate exchanges typically won't misuse your private keys, there have been cases in the past where less trustworthy exchanges have done so. Even the largest exchanges, like FTX, can be compromised or act in dishonest ways behind the scenes. So, one of the most crucial things any Bitcoin holder can do is practice self-custody. This means taking control of your private keys and storing them securely yourself, rather than relying on an exchange. By doing so, you ensure that only you have access to your Bitcoin. There's a lot of information about Bitcoin to digest here. So to wrap up this introduction, let's focus on the most crucial thing you need to know if you're planning to get your hands on some Bitcoin. The first step is using a reputable exchange to buy your Bitcoin. But the next and most important step is taking custody of your private keys. This means storing them yourself. The best way to do this is by using a wallet that you control, not one hosted by an exchange or any third party. Bitcoin is designed to be trustless, meaning that it's built on the idea that you don't have to trust anyone else to handle your funds. If you're trusting someone else to hold your private keys, you're going against what Bitcoin itself is all about. Sure, trusting an exchange might be convenient, and the best exchanges do have strong security protocols, but at the end of the day, you can never be 100% sure. And getting back to banks, well, centralized crypto exchanges are closest thing to bank. You should use them, but not let them have too much power over you. Software wallets are a good option. There is a tutorial on installing those in our previous video, which you can find in description of this video. I hope you found this video helpful. Trust me when I say that the inner workings of Bitcoin are much more complex and deeper than what I've covered here. But this should give you a solid understanding of the basics of this amazing technology and how it works. Leave a like, subscribe, and see you in some of the next videos on Bitcoin Academy. Also, make sure to leave a comment. What video would you like to see next?